Hi, I'm Wendy Schrag, and I'm a mixed media artist based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I created this short video course for you as a way to help bring some love and light into the world during these trying times that we're experiencing. The project is based on the shape of a heart, and my goal in the end is to have you share these hearts with other people. Whether you email them to people, physically mail them to people, post them online, just a way to bring some love and light into our world. And the project is really simple. The supplies are minimal. I purposely picked some things that you may have laying around the house so nobody needs to go out and buy anything. If you've got magazines, a glue stick, a scissors, and some paper, you're good to go. And my goal is to have you reconnect with that creative side of yourself. There's a freedom in creativity, and everybody has that within them. It's just a matter of whether or not you let it out. And with this project, I think it's a very easy way for you to kind of get lost in the time that you spend on it and explore. And in that exploration, we learn. And in that learning, we can create. So I'm here to be your cheerleader, to guide you on this journey, and to help you reignite that creative spark. I can't wait to see what you create. The first thing you're going to want to do is decide what kind of paper you want to work on. And you have your choice of really just about anything. You can take a piece of cardstock if you happen to have that. You could take a piece of a paper bag, brown paper bag, or you could even take a book page. So the choice is totally up to you. You make the decision, whatever feels right to you. Some people may like more of a clean-cut edge on a piece of paper. Maybe you're a little bit more intrigued by the rough edges, more of a raw feel of the torn paper bag. Or the book page, which has the print on it and then also has this really nice deckled edge to it. I'm going to choose the book page to work with this time, so I'm just going to set the other two aside. And the first thing you'll want to do is take a piece of paper, measure it to roughly the same size as your background piece. So I just tore a piece of paper in half. And then we're going to go kind of old school, back to elementary school. Take that paper, fold it in half, and we're going to draw a heart. But it's going to be that half of the heart, just like you used to do when you were in elementary school. And you can make that heart whatever shape you want. If you want it more rounded, if you want it longer, totally your choice. We're going to cut out along the line that we drew. And that's going to give us our mask to work from. And you might want to save what you're cutting away too, because sometimes there's something else that becomes really interesting for. You've got this great cutout heart shape, and we can work with that later. You can check out the size and the shape of the heart that you've got. I think I might want mine just a little bit smaller than this. So I'm just going to do a little trimming. No big deal. We'll just go back at it. And I'm going to cut it down a little bit. Bring it in a little bit on the edges. Still keep the length of it because I do like the way it sat on the page that way. And we'll check this one out. And I like the way that's sitting on the page much better. So we're going to go with that. Next, I'm going to have you pull out a magazine that you might have laying around and just take a look through it and find a picture that interests you. It might be a picture that's got some colors that you like, a particular color family. Maybe it's something that's black and white. Maybe it's something that's got some color on it, but it also has some type on it. That might be kind of interesting. It doesn't really matter what the picture is of. Just something that feels good to you. Something where you like the colors. Maybe you like something that's a little bit brighter. Maybe it's something that's more muted. Maybe it's something that's got some pretty bold contrast to it. And pull out a few of these pages, sit with them for a little bit, make a decision which one you think you want to work with, and then we'll move on to the next step. So here's the picture I decided to use. I really like the contrast of the dark and light. I like that little pop of orange in the door. Maybe that'll end up showing up, maybe not so much, but we'll see what happens. So the next thing I want you to do is take the picture that you've chosen, take your scissors, and I think this is a scissors that I've had around for quite a long time, and you're going to start to cut that picture up into strips. And you want to vary the size of the strips. Some are going to be really narrow, some might be a little bit wider, but just cut the whole picture up. You can go vertically, you can go horizontally, it doesn't really matter. You can even switch as you start your cutting process. Turn it so you can get a little bit different pattern play here. And you're going to end up cutting the entire picture up into strips. So I'm going to let you take some time to do that, and I will meet you back here in just a couple minutes. Once you've gotten your strips cut, I'm going to have you sort them into two separate piles, one being lighter and the other being darker. The reason for this is once you start to assemble the heart design, you can get some really interesting effects by putting lights next to darks, keeping lights together in one area, darks in another area, and that'll be a decision that you can make as we move forward. But for now, just keep the two separate piles and we'll get on to our next step. For this next step, you're going to want your glue stick or maybe some kind of a matte medium or something that can adhere the strips down to the heart. And I put a piece of paper underneath just so I've got some protection as I'm putting the strips down. You might also want to have your scissors in case you want to trim anything, but you can always tear it too. So I'm going to start by opening up my glue stick, and I'm going to take one strip and I'm just going to run some glue on the back of it. And I'm going to stick it down onto the heart shape. And you can really put it any place you want. Smooth it out once you get it down there. Make sure that you pick up any excess glue just so you don't have the heart sticking to that paper. And I'm going to do another strip. This time I'm choosing still something in that darker pile. We'll play a little bit that way for a bit. And just overlap those strips as you lay them down. And if there's a particular piece that catches your eye, if the color on it pops or is exciting to you, go ahead and put that down. They don't have to fill up the entire sheet, top to bottom, because we can use some of these smaller pieces to fill in. So we're going to add, and there's nothing that says that the strips all have to be even as you're putting them down either. This one we'll put up here. And that's kind of long. We don't want to waste that because that's got some great light color on the top of it. So we'll just tear that off, and then we can add it someplace else. So the goal here is to fill up the entire heart shape. And once you've gotten it filled up, we're going to take a look at it again and see if there's any place we want to make any adjustments. And you should have plenty of paper strips to get this first layer done. So I'm going to let you have a little bit of time to work on that, and we'll be back in a little bit. So now I've gotten my first layer of strips down on the heart, and I'm going to lift this up, and I've done exactly what I said to be careful of, and that is stick the heart right down to the paper. So we'll just lift that up. And at this point, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim the excess away from the heart so that we end up with just that heart shape and all these great colored strips that we've created. And once I get this trimmed, I'm going to flip the heart over again and I'm going to take a look at it and see if there are areas that I'm really loving and if there are areas that I want to change a little bit. And I've still got plenty of strips left that I can do that. And it's just fun to see how it develops. So here, once we get rid of all the scraps, is this really cool heart. And you can look at it and find areas, like I said, that you really love or areas that you want to make some changes to. And I know before I was talking about how I really liked that pop of orange. So maybe I want to play with that and see if I want to add that in someplace where that might be interesting. I actually kind of like it right there, so I think I'm going to do that. And you can just keep playing and adding layers. Maybe you want to put a thinner strip someplace to divide up an area. Just keep playing, keep layering until you get it to a point where you really love it. And once I get this done, then again, I'm going to trim the edges and we'll talk about where we're going to go next. So now I've gotten the next layer on and I'm ready to trim again so we can get rid of all the excess. So we'll just do a quick trim around the edges. I don't have too many that extend over. And then we're back to that heart shape. So now we're at the point where we've got our heart all cut out and we're ready to put it onto the background. And as I mentioned before, you have your choice. You could put it onto a piece of cardstock, mount it that way. You could also do some other design work around that if you wanted to. If you had some paint, you could paint on this paper. Next option was a piece of a paper bag, which is really kind of cool. It's organic looking. I really like the look of that, and I like the way the heart pops on that paper. And then the third option, and the one that I said I was going to go with before, was the book page. And I have to tell you guys that when I took this book page out and laid my heart down on it to see where I would attach it, the words "my heart" showed up. And I don't know if you can see them, but they're right there. And that is something that is what I like to call the magic in the artwork. When I create art, it's an intuitive style. And I like to look for things in the art, something that sends me a sign or a message that I'm on the right path. And when I saw this, I knew that I was. So I'm going to go with that I'm going to do a little bit more work on this because I really want that to stand out. And I don't know if any of you have paint at home. If you do, you could easily paint or gesso over the rest of the words on here so that that part stands out. But I decided that I was going to add another design element to this. And the way that I'm doing that is by taking another magazine page. And the page that I took is just a bunch of type. And I'm cutting that into thin little strips. I have a bunch that I've cut here already. Just bring those over so you can see. And they're basically 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch wide, just wide enough to be able to fit over a line of type on that page. And what I'm going to do is use that as another design element just to have some fun. And I'm going to lay those on top of the print on this page so that I can cover everything up except the words, my heart. And I'm going to start to glue these on, and I'll let you in the meantime decide what you want the background of your piece to look like and how you want to attach that, and I will be back. So I've gotten to the point where I've put down all of the bits of type page to cover up the different lines. I've circled the area that says my heart because I just love that. And I'm ready to put the heart down onto the background. So I can just place it here. Just make sure that I've got everything covered the way I like it. And I am happy with it. Actually kind of like the way the circle looks like a little angel's halo. So I am going to glue this down and then we'll be back. So I've gotten the heart put onto the book page, and I'm finding that I really love the little fringy sides on this that's created by those strips that I put on to cover the type. But what I'm noticing is that if I were to put this onto a white piece of paper, I'm going to lose a lot of that. So I think I'm going to take this piece of brown paper bag and I'm going to put that underneath it, and that allows those pieces to show up a little bit more. And I'm really loving how that looks. So what I want to encourage you to do is just allow as you create. It's that creative process, sometimes getting lost in it, allowing things to happen. There's really no right or wrong. It's just about having fun and exploring. And that's what I would encourage you to do. And I would love to see what you're creating. I think these hearts are going to be really incredible. And I think that they're going to be a great way to send a message during this time of isolation that we're going through. Whether you email the image to somebody, whether you actually mail it to somebody, whether you post it on your Facebook or Instagram page, I just think it's going to brighten up people's days to see all that love that we're creating. I hope you've had fun, and I can't wait to see what you create.